And so we're live here in Via del Consolazione, the road that runs from St. Peter's Basilica behind me down to the Tiber River. And there are thousands of pilgrims here lining the streets to get into St. Peter's Square and then into St. Peter's Basilica to pay their final respects to Pope Emeritus Benedict XVI. And yesterday there were around 65,000 people that managed to get through St. Peter's and pay their final respects. And today by noon, around 20,000 people had managed to get through. And I'm sure by the end of the day there'll be many more. Obviously tomorrow is the last day in which people can line up and get through St. Peter's. And then Thursday will be the funeral. But I have to say this is probably the most crowded I have ever seen St. Peter's Square and St. Peter's Basilica and the road Via del Consolazione that we're on right now. There are thousands of pilgrims and tourists, obviously, it's the new year, but a lot of pilgrims, a lot more pilgrims than we usually see here. And we've seen people praying, we've seen people praying the rosary, and it's been quite an amazing experience talking to the pilgrims, hearing about the reactions to the death of Benedict XVI, hearing about some personal interactions that some of them may have even had with him, and hearing about their thoughts about him as a theologian, a man, a leader of the Catholic Church, and a pope. And there's definitely a feeling of loss, of an age that has passed, and so in meeting all these pilgrims, it's been quite something to hear their impressions of Pope Emeritus Benedict XVI. And you can see how many people around me there are. All the cafes around are full of people. There's lines you can see there going into St. Peter's Square, and another line over there also going into St. Peter's Square. And it's quite impressive the amount of people that we have seen here in the square over the last few days. And so the Christmas tree you can see is still set up in St. Peter's Square, and so there's still definitely an interesting, it's an interesting playoff, I guess you could say, because there is still the Christmas season here in the Vatican. Obviously, Epiphany is on Friday, but we have the funeral on Thursday, so there's a difficult balance there between the festive period that Christmas is, and also the solemnness and the solemn nature of a funeral. And so obviously all these pilgrims have come out of St. Peter's Basilica having paid their last respects to Pope Emeritus Benedict XVI. And having talked to some of them over the past few days, it's been very interesting hearing their reactions. Some of them weren't even Christian, some of them weren't even religious in any sense, but they still felt like there was something special that they were experiencing, going through and seeing the people praying, seeing the many religious people that were there, seeing the faithful, but also the tourists having an opportunity to view it as a truly historical moment, not only for the Catholic Church, but also for the world in general. This is the first Pope who has resigned in 600 years, but more importantly, Benedict XVI was an amazing theologian. He was an amazing teacher, and he offered something that really his predecessor didn't have, in that he had a great theological work and a great theological core of writing that he was able to produce in his papacy, and also before then. And so here beside me you can see the stage which EWTN will be on for the funeral, and before. I think we go live first tonight at 6 o'clock with Cardinal Dolan, I believe, and then we have Cardinal Pell booked in, a bunch of other people to give their reactions to us about the death of Pope Benedict and about what Pope Benedict meant to them personally, but also to the whole Catholic Church. And yeah, so it's quite an impressive setup we have here, and you'll get a good chance to see that later on tonight, going live at 6 o'clock Rome time. And they've spent about the last 2 days preparing this. It's quite an impressive structure, complete with lights and broadcasting desks and everything. And now we're going to get some live reactions from some pilgrims who managed to make their way into St. Peter's Square and into St. Peter's Basilica to pay their last respects to Pope Emeritus Benedict XVI. Could you just tell us your names, where you're from, and why you're here today?
I'm Savita Anthony, belong to the congregation of Daughters of Divine Sin. We stay here for our charismatic studies, and at present we do a course in Pontifical University of Gregorian.
I am Surmere. I come from Vietnam. We are in the same congregation. I am studying here, and so we are studying about his writings, and so I am very interested to visit him, as he is a great person in the church for me. He is an example for me, and so for me to visit him is for me something to remain in my heart. For me, as to encourage me to continue to work for the church and for all the people.
And have you had a chance to go in, or are you on your way there now?
We went already there to visit him.
And what was your impression going through the Basilica and seeing all the faithful praying?
Yeah, it's really heart-touching seeing the people. Really, when we enter in Vatican, it's really a very noise is there. All were doing photos and celebration mode. But today there was a kind of silence where all were looking forward in prayer and offering this sincere prayer for his eternal repose. So it was really heart-touching, and I am really impressed by the people who are really waiting and visiting him.
Now, you two both said you were students at the Gregorian Pontifical University, and you've studied his theology. Can you give us just a few points of what stood out to you from reading his work, from reading his theology, from learning from the man and the leader that was Benedict XVI?
I'm actually doing psychology, but I could say Pope Benedict XVI was really a man who deepened his theological studies, especially a connection with the philosophical studies and theological encounter with God. His studies on logos, the origin of knowledge, the origin of wisdom, connecting to the real encounter with true verita, is true God, is really very challenging and encouraging the young to understand the depth of his theological studies.
I just came to know the book that he wrote about the discernment, and so this is the very nice book for us to is one of us to have some points to have to discern our vocation in our life. That is.
And thanks a lot. And are you going to try and go back into the Basilica today and see him for the final time, or do you have plans to go back in tomorrow maybe before the funeral on Thursday?
Actually, by seeing the preparation, we have desire to come for the funeral. But since it is a long crowd will be there, we do not know what will be the opportunity. But if we have the opportunity, we'll be surely coming.
That's amazing. Well, I hope to see you again, and God bless, and see you. And so, once again, we're here in St. Peter's Square with all these pilgrims around us, and they're all having come out of St. Peter's Basilica, having paid their final respects to Pope Emeritus Benedict XVI. They all have done that finally, and it's quite amazing to see all these people here in Rome to pay their final respects to the man that was Pope Emeritus Benedict XVI. And so one final time, we'll show you once again the stage that we've set up for EWTN's live streaming of the next few days. So obviously, once again tonight, we have at 6 o'clock we'll go live, Rome time, with Cardinal Dolan and probably some others. And then tomorrow we'll also be live, possibly with Cardinal Pell. And then of course on Thursday for the funeral, we'll be live for all of that, bringing you commentary on that, and also showing you the funeral live from St. Peter's Square. You can see our team working hard to get everything ready for 6 o'clock tonight, and it's been quite impressive seeing them set up the entire structure over the last few days. And thank you once again to all of you for watching. Thank you to everyone here in Rome for helping set this up, and thank you and God bless.